Hey everyone, welcome back to the Law of Attraction Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Keith, and today I have Brownell Landrum on the podcast to talk to us about the science behind wishing. I'm so excited for this conversation. Brownell is a speaker and author of the new book, The Art and Science of Wishing. She's also the author of over a dozen other books, both fiction and nonfiction, including Five Reasons Why Bad Things Happen, The Hero's Playbook, and the We Meet Again trilogy, A Love Story to the Universe, and so many more. And Brownell is also the founder of the Cosmic Wish Experiment. Brownell, welcome to the podcast.
I'm so excited to be here. I know we're going to go down some crazy talk and about science and have fun doing it. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. Um, I know we started talking before recording, but I was thinking about it. I'm like, this was really part of my wish for 2026 because I really sat down and I was thinking, I want to get more people on the podcast that can talk about the science behind all of this manifestation, consciousness, like all of these things that I'm super fascinated with because I think everyone brings a unique perspective. And then you emailed me and I'm like, "Ugh, perfect."
Yeah.
Um, and one quick story. So I have three kids, but my 6-year-old daughter is like super into science. But she's also very curious about all the things, that I'm doing and talking about. And so I always do a new moon intention setting ritual, right? Like set intentions. And starting around, I don't know, age 4, she started getting like asking a lot of questions like, well, what are you doing? Well, I want to do that. And anyhow, she calls them moon wishes. And so the other
Ah,
day she's like, Mom, is it time for our moon wishes yet? And I said, well, it's funny you say that because I'm having a lady on the podcast who's going to talk about the science of wishing. And like she was just like, there's such a thing. Like, that's so awesome. So, anyhow, I can't wait to report back to her about what we talk about today.
well, I'm not finished with it yet, but I'm actually working on a children's book for it. So I'm going to send
Oh,
it to you so you can see because I'm sure we'll get to it. But like even just some of the imagery of it, and like the because the pictures that are in there, kind of the before and after, and I mean, the word wish is such a powerful word. And, it's just like this release, this mantra. And it's something that kids, I do think, have an understanding of. So if I had my wish, right? In fact, I'm going to do a video. I haven't done it yet, but like why wishing, cosmic wishing, what I call cosmic wishing, should be taught in elementary school and business school. Like it should go,
yes.
it should go both ends of that spectrum. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, yeah. I mean, now that you say that, it's like, just the word alone, and I see this with my kids, but even when I think back to my childhood, when you're a kid, it's like wishing, like you wish all the time and there's no limit to what you wish for. And it's so magical because anything's possible. And then I feel like there's a point in time for me, it was like around middle school, definitely in high school. It's like, okay, it's time to be realistic. Stop with the wishing and you need to start thinking about your future. Like these were the messages coming in. And then wishing, it was all of a sudden it became like goal setting or, like something that's not as fun and magical. And I don't know, like with my kids, I feel like they bring that back. Like with the moon wishes, I'm like, that just
Yeah,
like,
it's beautiful.
it makes it feel magical again, just like when I was a kid. And it's like, why do we lose that when we get older? Like you said, they should teach it in business school.
They should teach in a business school, especially, well, I'll get into, I'm sure, explain like the difference between a wish and a cosmic wish. But I also, explain the difference between a wish, a prayer, and a goal, because understanding that distinction really is important. And I think that's the part, just knowing enough about your show and what you're interested in, is like that's when it gets so exciting and so magical because because a goal is something in your control, right? It's like, I can set this goal. I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to lose 10 pounds. I'm going to do this thing. And most of it might be within your control. I mean, not everything in life is always in your control, but, and then there is prayer is when it's like completely out of your control. Nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to release it to whatever energy, entity,
Hmm.
whatever word you want to use for that infinite intelligence, God, whatever. And then wishes are that beautiful in between place, right? Where it's somewhere, it's both personal and transpersonal. It also taps into that magical and that exterior kind of consciousness. So yeah, there's so much
Yeah.
to it that takes it to another level.
Well, it's interesting because I've never heard anyone phrase it that way, but it it makes so much sense that you're saying this now because what I see from a manifestation standpoint, where a lot of people are like, why am I not manifesting? And I'll talk with them and it's like, well, because you're trying to control the whole thing. Like it's what you're
Yes.
saying goal setting is like they want the full blueprint up front and they want to know every single step and have complete control over it. And I'm like, no, when you release that control, like that's where things get really fun because then there's infinite possibilities. And so it's just, I never really thought about it though, in terms of like a goal. That's how we're trained, we're conditioned. You set a goal and then you set the steps and you take the action. And that's what's really kind of encoded in our subconscious, I guess, from schooling. But hey, let's bring the magic back.
Let's bring the magic back. Yeah. And I mean, it's been that's one of the things that I find so interesting. I mean, everyone wishes all over the world. And wishing has been a key driver of survival since the dawn of humanity. I mean, it has been especially collective wishing rituals for,
Mhm.
that's what kept tribes going. That's what kept communities alive. And I don't think we're wishing together enough, right? So to
Yeah.
bring, like I call wish circles back, right? And where we can be
Mhm.
wishing toward the same thing. And there's the science behind that is just so cool. So, yeah, I
Oh,
don't know where you want to start with
I
all of
want to
this,
get into
but
all
we
of
just
it, but I guess to start with, I am curious, like how did you get on this path of exploring the science behind wishing? Is there a story there or like what led you to do that?
there is a story, and I like to make it really clear to anybody watching. It's like I'm not a scientist; I'm a storyteller. And so I was writing a novel, kind of a semi-autobiographical novel, and I was creating this magical world I call upstairs, where wishes are gathered and sorted and granted, and there's wish fairies and all this kind of fun stuff. And it was semi-autobiographical because it was kind of prompted by a wishing experience of my own. And when you're writing a novel, you have to kind of build the world, right? Well, what is a wish? And how are wishes answered? And how does all of that work? And what is the mechanism? And then you're probably like me too, that like if I can't sleep, sometimes I'll listen to a science lecture,
Yeah.
to help me fall asleep. So I was listening to a neuroplasticity lecture one night, and I was like, wait a minute, is there science in wishing? So that's what led me down this path of like, okay, I felt like I was like playing a scientific whack-a-mole because every time I looked, there was another science. I mean, every time you make a wish, you engage over a dozen different sciences.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain? I
Yeah, I
want to
got your
know. I'm
attention on.
curious.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, that's what.
neuroscience? I mean, what
Well,
what are you talking about here?
anthropology, right? Because even
Okay.
in our DNA, there's some really interesting studies that are working on, like, even in our DNA, wishing in this collective power is part of who we are as humanity, but we're losing that. And I think that's one thing that I want to bring back, right? Is this
Hmm.
collective wishing ritual. And you mentioned the cosmic wish experiment, which I can tell you about later. But so there's anthropology, there's sociology, how you wish together, there's biology, neuroscience, neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
There is obviously psychology. There's also mythology and some of the storytelling. I have a chapter on the science of storytelling as well. So there's motivation science where you look at what is motivating you. So I was just looking at all these things. And so I kind of wanted to build, okay, what's the framework for all of these sciences?
Mhm.
And so it kind of starts with, okay, well, how, what is the history of wishing? What do people wish for? How do you define a wish? And there's even in the scientific definition of a wish is this release of the outcome, right? There's some sort of energy to that. And then what are the ways wishes are responded to? And like where is the conscious, subconscious, superconscious, or mind, body, spirit aspect of all of that? So all of those things started kind of layering on top of each other to kind of create this framework that I just couldn't help resist. And so my book, I cite over 70 different scientists. So
Oh,
I went a little
wow.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's right up my alley.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. So and in
Yeah.
fact, I started recording a series of like videos that I'm going to do like, and it's 382 ways cosmic wishing brings more into your control.
Oh, I like that. I
Right, because
like
it's
it.
like, and the difference between wishing and cosmic wishing is when you apply the science, right? Because it's one thing
Okay.
to wish and then poof, and that's gone. But it's like if you start applying the science to it, and sometimes that's when to let go, sometimes it's when to start rethinking the answers.
Hmm.
I even get into something called the blue balloon, what I call the blue balloon phenomena, which I think you'd really find interesting. Kind of the noodle baker because your brain, but it's like imagine you're driving home and you start imagining that there's a blue balloon on your driveway, just this weird thing. And you drive in and there's a blue balloon. So the question is, did you manifest it? Did you get a preview of it? Right, which is a whole nother science of this, I think you got into non-locality at one discussion
Yeah.
and this ability to kind of get this preview of it. Was it already there and you just were told it was there by some other source? Like all of these different ways that quote manifestation of a blue balloon could happen.
I love this. I do this for fun. Like
I know.
my daughter and I, one of my favorite stories that I like to tell is when her grandmother had passed away, like a sign that I always associated with her is a disco ball because I like called her the disco queen. She was like super good at like dancing and into music and
Oh,
stuff.
I love that. Yeah.
And so anyhow, like we see disco balls all the time now. And so we were going to Busch Gardens one day and we were talking about it and I was like, "Okay, send us a disco ball. We want to know that you're there with us, you know?" And so we go and we're there and they had this ice skating show going on. And we're like, "Oh, should we go see it? Yeah, let's go see it." And they put us like way up at the top. It was like the most packed I've ever seen this ice skating show. So we're on the top. I didn't even know there was a balcony, but we're like up on the balcony and the show starts and we're like blinded by this light because we're right on the same level of it. And she's hitting me, "Mom, Mom." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Look." And I mean, the biggest disco ball I've ever seen in my life. I didn't even know they made them that big, comes down from the ceiling. And
Oh,
I'm just like,
wow.
it's crazy. But I love asking for signs or just thinking about and getting them. I feel like it works for me all the time. And it's like,
Well,
what's
and
it
that's
gonna
so
be?
beautiful because what that does, what one of the things I kind of like about this whole idea of wishing, and I think this is where a lot of what you talk about kind of ties in, is you can call that spiritual or you can call that scientific. And guess what? They're not necessarily different.
Yeah.
They may
No,
just be the same thing with different language, right? And I
right.
think the more we bring those things together, the more powerful that is. And so, from a spiritual standpoint, like I had an experience a couple of months ago and I was just sneezing, like these huge, clear out the room sneezes. And I never sneeze like that. And it happened like 3 or 4 times over the course of a few days. And I'm like, that's how my dad used to sneeze. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, are you here telling me you're here? And as soon as I did, I stopped sneezing like that. He got the message across and I knew he was with me. And that's the first time, and he's been gone a long time. So that was the first time he came, really has come to visit me. And
Wow.
so for me, then the spiritual, because my novels get into the metaphysical and spiritual and
Hmm.
reincarnation, all that fun stuff. And yet here I've got the science kind of mentality as well, right? And
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily there's as much division on that either. But um, and so the spiritual aspect is like that's my dad, like he's here. The psychological aspect could just be simply I needed that reinforcement, and somewhere inside of my body and somewhere inside of my psychology was like this is your reinforcement, for you to
Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing because that's who's with you. And then there's the reticular activating system that happens like when you're saying disco ball, you're going to be looking for the disco ball,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And so it can be communication with your mom. Is it your mom? Her grandmother, right? Is that what you
My
said?
mother-in-law.
Your mother-in-law, right?
Yeah.
So it could be the communication with the mother-in-law that she's like, yeah, I'm here with you, and it could also be you're saying, I want to see that blue balloon, and guess what? The blue balloon's there, right? So
Hmm.
it's like, did you manifest it or did you preview it? And so it's just to me, and then there's something called the Bader-Meinhof syndrome. I don't know if you know about that, but that's also kind of similar where you're looking if like you see a yellow car and then all of a sudden and you think you're going to buy a yellow car and then everywhere is a yellow car.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh man, my husband for like 2 years now, he's been telling me you have to do an episode on that. What is it called again? The Bader Meinhof?
Bader-Meinhof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't yet, but he's like fascinated with it, I guess. He keeps bringing it up, so it's funny you say that. But yeah, it is. It's like all of this science, but there's also that spiritual component, and like that's what I wish everyone knew, you know? It's like, because I didn't grow up very spiritual or religious or anything like that, but very like scientific. And once I started learning about the law of attraction, I'm like, oh, that's like the other piece of the puzzle that's missing. And then looking at the scientific world, I'm like, they're missing half of the equation, which is like I call it consciousness, but the
Yes.
spiritual aspect. And why does it have to be one or the other? Like we really need to change the way we're thinking and accept that both are real, both are important, both are valid, and it's like, you know, two pieces of the equation that have to come together to make sense of our world.
Right. And even though, I'm sure you know who Max Planck was, right? And I mean, he was like, there can be no opposition between religion and science,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and he was the founder of quantum physics,
Yes.
right? Right. And even Carl Sagan talks about, the more we can bring these things together. So a lot of really well-known scientists, I think Einstein had also a quote on it. I can't
Yep.
quote it exactly, but so the I think the smarter people are going, how do we bring these together? How can we measure this? I mean, in fact, one of my novels, I kind of throw out this concept of like someday we'll be able to measure the energy of God because if God is love, why can't we measure that energy? It's kind of like if you know David Hawkins' work, because I talk about that,
Hmm.
the power versus force.
Uh-huh.
Right. Because that's important, right? Where is your energy when you're making that wish?
Right.
And how are you tapping into that? And how much more powerful it is to make it from that higher level energy versus that lower level energy.
Yeah. And, I didn't realize up until, I don't know, a year ago, but like I'm still learning as I go how much science backs up all of these like quote unquote spiritual or like things that people would consider like woo woo, how there's a ton of scientific research. It's just the mainstream scientific world doesn't really want to look at it. And it's interesting because it kind of made sense. I was reading Mark Gober's book, The End to Upside Down Thinking, and he was basically saying like they don't want to admit that this stuff is real because then it could kind of dismiss some theories that the scientific world has accepted for so long. And it's just interesting how it's there, the evidence is there. It's just there's a lot of people that refuse to look at it and they want to keep the spiritual stuff separate, like that's over there and the science, is over here, and let's not merge the two.
Yeah, and I think that there is more of it happening. I mean, I think one of the reasons why my book could be written is if I'd been a scientist, then I would probably have written from this particular narrow
Hmm.
point of view of a particular kind of science, right? But
Right.
because I'm not, then I was able to write, okay, here's 70 different kinds of science. You choose one. Which one works for you? Because they
Yeah.
all play into it. If you want to look at Freud and Jung, then you can get into the psychology of, because in my first book, one of the things I got into a lot, it's called Five Reasons Why Bad Things Happen, was the idea of the subconscious. And when I realized the subconscious was the body, and that ties to the mind, body, spirit, whichever terminology you want to use. But when you start looking at that, you're going, okay, well, where's the subconscious on your wishing? And is your subconscious in alignment? And even I get into the book about how important fun is. And I think that's one of the things you're kind of alluding to before. We get older and we're like, well, we let go of the fun. And
Hmm.
there's really good science behind why fun is important,
Yeah.
you know,
But
and
how
it,
often do we let ourselves have fun as adults? Like, I think we get so caught up in our mind of like what's coming next, or, we just let like the logical brain take over. But yeah, when you let go and you have fun, when I look back at the biggest things that I manifested that just felt like effortless, just so easy, it's like what was I doing differently with those? I was having fun with it. Like I
Oh
wasn't so
yeah.
serious about it. I was just like, why the hell not? Like let's just have fun. And there's something to that. It's that energy.
It is. In fact, one of the best analogies I like to use on the subconscious or the body, I call it the inner self, whatever terms you want to use, but is kind of imagine that you're watching your neighbor walk their dog and the dog runs off. What happens? The neighbor's either yelling at the dog or chasing the dog,
Yeah, right.
right? But if he goes, "Come on, it's fun over here," the dog's going to go, "Yay, I'll go over there." Right? Well, our
Yes.
body's the same way. But we're spending too much time yelling at it or chasing it and trying to force it into something. And it's not fun anymore for the dog, right? It's not fun
Yeah,
anymore for our body. But if we go, let's do this and make it fun, our body is going to get completely in alignment. So a lot of times what's blocking us, subconscious sabotage is when it's not fun enough. And so if you're not excited about that wish, and your body's not excited and you're feeling like it's torture or pressure, then it's either you're going to get it and you're going to be dissatisfied, which is there's some science behind that that's very interesting. Or that you get it, but you know, it's not going to be fun on the way there, and it may not be as fun once you have it.
right. Yeah, because again, I do think we're conditioned to believe it has to be hard, like hard work equals success kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so we almost manifest it being hard because we just think that's the way it needs to be. But I think part of the fun too is like letting go and just leave it up to whatever you want to call it, the universe, whatever, to figure it out, like I'm just gonna put it out there and I'm gonna let it go, like stop gripping it so tightly. Stop
Yeah.
yelling at the dog.
Stop yelling at the dog. Right.
That's gonna
Right.
be
Make
my
it
new
fun.
analogy. I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah, well, because most people can imagine that because that is what most people do with the dog, and that's what most
Yeah,
people do with their body. It's like, I'm going to force you to lose this weight instead of, can we make it fun? Like, how
right.
can we make this
Yeah,
fun?
we no,
You know?
we never make it fun when it comes to, real thing like adult things. I feel like we don't. And that's where I think we can learn so much from kids too. Just
Yes.
watch them, be around them, and why do we lose that? And can we get it back? I think we can. You have to become sort of consciously aware of it, break the cycle, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so with all of the studies and everything you've looked at with the science behind wishing, is there anything besides fun or like anything else that could help people when it comes to manifesting? Kind of like,
A lot.
okay,
We could
I
probably
like
have
it.
lots of shows on this because there's so many different key elements.
Mhm.
One of them is I say that when you're making your wish, you need to have what I call the three P's. You need to be peaceful, positive, and purposeful.
Okay.
Okay. So peaceful means you're in a good mental state, you're relaxed. So that therefore you reduce the cortisol, reduce that anxiety you're talking about. Become more creative when you're in that mental state. So just when you make your wish, the wish itself should be peaceful, and your mind and body should be coming from a place of peace, right? And sometimes even if you just make your wish and you're just making it with the three P's, it's not even about the wish anymore. You just feel better because you've
Right.
embodied the three P's, right? So you kind
Yeah.
of like double wish. Positive means you're wishing for something and not against something else. So it's not protesting, it's what you're wishing for.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm working on a speech that I want to give, which is like, Joan of Arc had a vision, Gandhi had a mantra, Martin Luther King had a dream. What if today it's about a wish, backed in science, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
these are all positive things that got people to support it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your wish should be positive and not against something else. And then purposeful, and then with purposeful is, it serves more than just yourself.
Mm,
It's when you wish and you know that, and there's things called mirror neurons that start firing when you're in wishing for purposeful wish.
mhm,
There's also other brain science that says that you start bringing in other people to support you.
mm.
In fact, like for my children's book, I have kind of a before and after pictures for each of the three P's. And I have the before picture is as a boy, and he's standing in front of a mirror and he's looking in the mirror and says, "I wish to be a superhero." And he sees his reflection in the mirror, and then he changes his wish and he says, "I wish to be a superhero so I can help people." And then in the mirror is the reflection of all these people that are going to be there to support him.
Oh my, I'm getting goosebumps,
Isn't
getting
that beautiful?
goosebumps.
And
Oh,
in
I
on the
can't wait to
and
see this
and the
this children's
positive
book.
one is a kind of an older preteen girl and her much younger sister, and the younger sister's trying to get her attention. And the older one's got books and a computer, and she's working. She's like, "I wish my sister would leave me alone. I need, I'm too busy." And then she changes her wish to, "I wish I had more time for my sister," and then they're playing together.
Oh, that's sweet.
Isn't that sweet?
Okay,
But
I'm
that's
showing my 16-year-old too, because she does that a lot. Like, go away, like leave me alone to the little
Yeah, but
one.
so then if you start wishing, well, I wish I had more time,
Hmm.
you'll find the time. Your brain will keep seeking that answer. It will be like a heat-seeking missile
Yes.
to give you that time. So
Okay,
it's
that
very
that is
different.
so key. Your brain will seek the answer. That is so true. We affirm so many things we don't want without even realizing it, and then our brain seeks out those things.
That's right. Like, I
And
wish
so
my
it's
sister
like,
would leave me alone
really?
is the worst thing you can be wishing for. I mean, that's
Yes.
horrible on every
Yeah.
level, right? It's bad for you
Mhm.
and bad for her.
Right.
So, and then the first one in the peaceful is a girl nervous for an exam, and then she gets into a peaceful place, and then she's able to be more successful taking that test because she's able to know how to ground herself and get peaceful. So, so yeah, I mean, there's so many examples of that. But so, I mean, to answer your question, that's part of it is how are you making your wish? Where are you energetically? There's also a whole chapter on motivation and looking at what you want versus don't want, intrinsic versus extrinsic. Again, all this cool science
Mhm.
behind, focusing, because I don't think we spend enough time. But I'll just kind of imagine, if you can imagine like a four square grid, right? And there's two columns and two rows. The top column, the left side is want, the right side is don't want. I call this the motivation matrix that I came up with. The first row is have, the bottom row is don't have. So you've got a square of want and have. Those
Okay.
are the things we need to nurture and appreciate. And I think a lot of the problems with people manifesting and wanting is like they're spending all their time out there with something else instead of like, let me just enjoy what I have. Let me celebrate
Yeah.
the joy of what I have, right? And there's good stuff on gratitude, but that's part of that. And then there's the don't want and have. Well, those are the things we work on eliminating, right?
Mhm.
And seeing how we can remove them. And then we have want, don't have. Those are where we normally are wishing for, right? The things that we want that we don't have. And there's a really interesting aspect of when do you hold with it and when do you let it go, right? And there's
Yes.
and who do you tell and who do you not tell? So I get into
Mhm.
that in the book as well,
Okay,
right?
well,
And
I
when
think
do you
that's
tell other
key.
people?
I don't
Yeah.
tell people anything. I mean, like sometimes, like I tell my mom everything and like my daughter, and my husband, but like other than that, I don't really share my goals, because I've from experience, there will be people that'll say something and then it's like this seed of doubt that starts messing with my mind, and
Yeah.
then I start doubting and um I almost feel bad saying that, like don't tell people, but it's just like I don't know, in my experience it just works better if I don't or I keep it with
There's
a
there's
small circle.
neuroscience of that, like
Mhm.
of to do that. I don't know if you follow Andrew Huberman, the
Yes.
neuroscientist. So he
Huberman
talks about that.
Labs, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Huberman Labs. So I mean, he talks about that. And anyway, in the bottom quadrant is don't want, don't have. And we forget about those things, but we also have to know if we're trying to manifest or wish or whatever that we don't pick up things that we didn't foresee. And
Yeah.
sometimes those things are in our subconscious because our subconscious is, I don't know the number, but like billions of times more things there than in our conscious,
Right.
right? I always
Yes.
forget that number, 808 million or something. And anyway, is that those things, subconscious knows they're there and might not get you what you think you want because it's afraid. like, oh, you might get that job, but you have no time for your children, or
Yeah.
whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things, is to look at the motivation and the science behind that, and then again, the collective thing. And if I had a wish, is for more of us to do this wishing together, to do these wish circles together. And I created something where people can, start a wish circle and then go through the 8 weeks of the science, because it's 8 weeks for neuroplasticity, right? It is repeating it. But then each week there's an activity to kind of get into those areas of those sciences that you're asking me about, that help
Yes.
you get your wish stronger and stronger.
Okay,
So,
this is so funny. Because I was reading, I don't know if you talk about Dean Radin at
yeah.
all.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
He's in
I
there.
was reading Real Magic because he pulls like all of the history of like magic and then like the scientific studies, and it's just mind blowing. But I think it was in his book, like somewhere he started talking about how they've done those studies with meditation where people from all over the world will all meditate at the same time. And it actually has a significantly statistical significant impact or whatever they word it. And that, I was thinking about this over and over and over again the other night. And I'm like, why don't we all do this more often? Like just sit around and like you're saying, make a wish together, or doesn't necessarily have to be meditate, but like why aren't we talking about this more? Let's all collaborate. And so it's just
That,
funny you're talking about this. So is this something anyone can join?
yeah. I'm calling it the Cosmic Wish Experiment, and I am vetting the wishes, right?
Yes,
Um,
that's
but they
smart.
have to be peaceful, positive, and
Yeah.
purposeful. And sometimes I might be kind of like, if it's a 2 sentence wish, I might try to help streamline it. But I've got somebody wanting to do a wish circle just on loving and appreciating animals more.
Oh,
Something simple. And he's got
yeah.
his 12-year-old son that wants to be involved in that too,
Oh,
right?
so
So he's going to
I love
bring in
that.
other kids to do that,
Yeah.
right? And so I've got somebody else about loving and appreciating your body more,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
So, and the beautiful thing is that if somebody has like another thing that they're coaching on, or wanting to teach on or something, they can layer that message within this other message, right? So I could like take a message and turn it into a movement by turning it into a wish, right? So if it's like Simon Sinek, who I really admire, and he's all about the why, then he could have a wish circle as like, may everyone find and embody their why over the next 8 weeks, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So that's kind of one of my other wish, and I'm offering this to the world for free because I want everyone.
Amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And it includes points and tracking and prizes, and a free a Cosmic Wish playbook that they can download with the activities and video training and all of that stuff. So, I know that some people are like, oh, is wishing that, really that powerful? Why would I do this wish circle? Why am I going to follow your science? So I'm doing a lot more YouTube videos. So I would love people to, follow those too, because that is going to explain some of the things I told you today, right?
Yeah.
Is the power of the science. But it's up and running, and it's super fun. There's points and prizes and all that kind of good stuff.
And it's
So
such a
that's
good
what I love to see
idea
people
how you
doing.
said that guy's bringing his son in, like make it a whole family thing or, bring your friends. Like, it's, what a good way to show them while they're young. Like, hey, keep doing this. It's
That's right.
not, childish. It's like we should be doing this as adults too.
That's right. That's right. And so yeah, so that's kind of, where I am with it, is love to see, people even like you, with an audience, with people that really believe in you. And then, like, what would be your wish that you would want everybody, that people would want to join? And then we promote it, and then people sign up for your wish circle, and they get all the stuff for free. And
Oh,
you
I'm
just
totally doing that. That sounds so
Well, I
fun.
would I would be beyond honored and thrilled to help you,
Yeah.
however much as you want, because this is kind of like, I wrote this book, and the book is optional. You don't even need to read the book. I think you probably will, just because I think you'll like it. But everything is in there, as far as the basics, that's offered for free. And so I just want to be there to support, because this is I feel like if you know the David Hawkins work, we're spending a lot of time in that lower level energy, right?
Hmm.
This despair and
Yeah.
anger kind of place in the world today. We need to get up here.
Right.
We need to just go right up here. And so if we can get up to these higher levels, that's when we're that's where Martin Luther King had a dream. And that's where that higher level vision comes, and we can start making this a much better world on all kinds of levels.
I have that vision. Same vision. I think I feel like we're on the cusp of this. Like we're on like the tipping point where more people than ever before are open to it and like right on the edge. And I think this is a great idea because it's something that anyone can do. It's easy, but it's fun. And, and you have the science to back it up. And I really think that is where we're headed. I think the science, because of people like you and Dean Radin and like all the people you mention in your book, we're going to start to see science and spirituality converging like it should be, and that will, I think, awaken the masses. I mean, I think a lot of people, even the most skeptical people like my dad, if you can show the science behind it, it'll open their eyes. And with me, even, I mean, in just looking at spirituality and the law of attraction and everything, seeing the science behind it has really strengthened my belief that like this stuff actually works. And I think that's where we're headed. And you're doing it. Like you're putting it out there. It's already there. So I'm just so
Well, I'm
excited.
building the framework, right? I've got the
Yeah.
foundation and the framework, the wishes and how they come true, and who's building what tribe, your tribe, as you say. That's and that's where all the other energy comes in, and then you can like overlay whatever other training. I even have a great when you talk about skeptics. I even have a great chapter on like having fun with skeptics. Like bring them on. Like
Ooh.
I'm calling this an experiment for a reason
Yeah.
because I don't know. I
Hmm.
know what the science says, and I knew how to build it based on the science, but let's keep making it better and better and better. So if there are other scientists that come in or watching this or listening to this and go, oh no, we got to do this, and or you didn't get this quite right, I'm like, great, tell me about it. Like I
Yeah.
want to hear. I
Yeah.
don't want to, I'm not the expert, I'm just the conduit, if you will.
Right. I know. It's like treat it like a science experiment for anyone who's skeptical. Like you don't need
Yeah.
to listen to me. Go do it yourself and let's see what happens because it opens
Yeah.
up a whole world of possibility. Um, I'm just curious, do you have a certain like way or ritual that you use when you're wishing? Like I know you said the three P's. Is there anything um specifically that you do, or it's just kind of open to making it whatever you want it to be?
Well, two answers to that. One is within the cosmic wish experiment. That's one of the key things. Like if you're a wish circle leader, you're going to need to decide on the ritual for your group.
Ooh, okay. I'll have fun
Okay.
with that. Yeah.
So you could have a lot of fun with that. That could be disco ball,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be, a certain 11:11 on the clock. Or it could be you see a shooting star, the first star of the night, or you're brushing your teeth, or I don't care what it is, right?
Yeah.
But it's something like, can you imagine, 5, 10, 50, 100, 1,000 people all wishing the same thing at the same time? I mean, really, really, and I know you mentioned Radin and also Lynn McTaggart and the intention experiments they're doing. I mean, like there's some really, really cool stuff out there. So ritual is really important because that is going to give you that collective energy and that reminder to do the wish. And that's there's in the book there's um, 50 rituals around the world. So every country, all these countries have all different kinds of rituals. Like Brazil on New Year's Day, they call it the jumping of the seven waves, and each time you jump the wave, you make a wish.
Oh,
So you
cool.
go to the beach and I mean, like so many really cool things. And so in me myself, yeah, I mean today when it hit 11:11, and because of the Bader-Meinhof and the reticular activating, I'm going to notice the 11:11, and I'm going to think, okay, that's an opportunity for a wish. Whenever I see an eyelash, I'll make a wish, on that. So yeah, I mean, it's so built into our culture. We just don't even think about how much we already do it, you know.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's not just candles on a birthday cake, you know,
Right.
there's so many other ways to do that. So it could be all kinds of different things for people's rituals. That's what I think will be fun for people to select that, right?
Yeah. Well, there you go. Make it fun,
Yeah,
you know?
gotta be
And
fun.
really, this does just the topic of wishing. It sounds fun. It sounds, playful. And I like it. I'm so on board with this collective thing. Like you're on to something here. This is
Well,
life changing.
I just be, like I said, be honored and excited and have fun helping you. So however I can do that, whatever I can do, on any level, I'm thrilled to do it. I think you'll love like the different, because even the way I created the activities, they could be done for kids. I mean, like they're all fun,
Oh,
and
perfect.
these, like, it's about basically 1 minute a day plus maybe 15 or 20 minutes a week to go through whatever that week's activity is. And it's all, I've got video training, but it's so easy. I mean, you can look at
Yeah.
it and figure it out. And so and then I got, teddy bears with Make a Cosmic Wish, and,
Oh, cute.
I got all the little paraphernalia, merchandise and stuff to make it even more fun. So yeah, make it fun, and I think we could really feel something very, very powerful.
Okay, so before this episode airs, I'm gonna set it up for, my circle or however you phrased it. I think you said a circle, right?
Wish
Like a
circle, yeah.
wish circle. Yeah. So that way I can put it in the show notes for everyone to join.
Perfect.
So yeah, there we go. I hold me to it. I will do it. I'm excited about this. I'm really excited. And I can tell my daughter who like loves the moon wishes and science and
Yeah.
everything. She'll be
Yeah,
excited.
maybe that's your code is Moon Wish could be, because when you sign up to
Yeah.
set up a wish circle, you have what your wish circle is going to be called. So you could call it something, right? And it's got to be
Yeah.
something easy. So that would be
Hmm.
easy for you. And then you have your wish, and either you can do like a poll or something among people to find out what they would want to wish for, or you just decide on a wish that you think that everybody would, it can be world peace, it can be animals, it can be, any whatever it is. And then that's when people, and then if it's a public, then we can send it out there to everybody and say, if you are in alignment with this wish, join this wish circle, and this is where you get, and then they just sign up, they download the playbook and all of that fun stuff. So
Oh, perfect. Yeah, this is great. It's just so funny that I was literally thinking about this the other day. Like I gave this a lot of thought because I was thinking like, well, how do you even get started with this? Like I don't have like a big organization and here you've got it all set up for
I
me.
worked a
So there
lot
we
on
go.
it. I worked really hard on
Oh,
it.
I'm
So
sure.
it's,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little tracker, and you can measure like where were you on your three selves when you made your wish, and all of these kinds of stuff. So yeah, and points and scoring, and sharing and all that kind of stuff. So
Oh,
I'm excited.
so
I
fun.
knew I knew we would. I knew you'd,
Oh,
be a
yeah.
good
Yeah,
simpatico.
we're on the
And
same wavelength for sure.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll let everyone listening know once I have this ready to go. And where can everyone find you? Share the title of your book again and just anything you want to leave with people.
Yeah. Well, I'm the only Brownell Landrum in the world, so it's kind of easy to find
Oh,
me. I
wow.
can't hide. So I have my website, brownelllandrum.com. So you can learn about all my other books and all my other stuff. And then cosmicwishexperiment.com is the website for the Cosmic Wish Experiment. And then I'm on all the socials. I'd love people to follow my new YouTube channel because I'm doing all this, 382 ways to bring more control into your wishing. And I started recording those. So yeah, just you'll find me.
Perfect. Well, I'll link everything in the show notes and I'll keep everyone updated. I'll put it in the show notes. I'll probably put it on Instagram or wherever for
Yeah.
the Wish Circle. And I'm excited for this. Thank you so much for coming on. This was so much fun.
Thank you. Me too. I knew it was going to be fun. So
Yeah, it
I'm
was
glad it
amazing. And
was.
thanks to everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode.